Hey everybody, I'm Chip from Stomp Software, and we're glad you're here with us today. I've got great news. Got a good friend of mine, Feuza Reis, here with us to help uh, produce and deliver this webinar to you, and also to share all sorts of amazing experience and wisdom and information about SEO, the mysterious world of SEO. Say hey, Fuse.
Hello guys, I was about to post on the Stomp Software account that we are live. I'm really excited to be here. This was kind of like impromptu last minute. We decided that since we were getting lots of cool questions and SEO can be hard to give some tips on a post or an IG story because there's more to it, and when the questions start coming in, I want to be able to answer. But Chip and I thought it'd be cool if we came and did this video, because then he would have this video later too, and we could be able to share it and just have this Q&A. So I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Cool. Well, while Fuse is wrapping up that Instagram post, just to get other folks in, we'll give folks time to find this link and to log on. And I always get a kick out of origin stories. Something about them just kind of
Which I love that expression. I think I've heard that before, but Danny said that when we at WPPI.
Yeah. So I it's funny. So Fuse and I met. What is today? Today is the 2nd. We met less than a month ago. But what's crazy? That's the first time meeting in person. The first time that we've been in the same room that we know of. What's crazy is that I feel like I've known her for like 6 or 7 years. Fuse was one of the early adapters with BlogStomp. One of the very first BlogStomp version 1 software app owners. And it's funny because at first I was a little intimidated by her because she asks really good questions. So my first interaction with Fuse was when she had written into our support system, and she had some questions that I was like, I don't know if I know how to answer these.
Were they SEO questions?
Probably. So no, but I love that she asked hard questions. I love that she pushed us forward, and while it wasn't so much like a consultant kind of relationship, it helped us to realize that, wow, our users are going to be smarter than we are sometimes, so we really better step up our game and make sure that we're putting out quality products that answer the questions that they're going to ask. So with that kind of as our backstory, we happened to have been invited to the same event this year at WPPI last month, and it'll happen sometimes, and this is, occasionally someone will be like, hey, are you Chip? And I'm always really hesitant to answer that question. But I hear this voice behind me, hey, are you Chip? And I feel a touch on my shoulder, and I turn around and she's like, it's Feuza. And I'm like, wait, no, you're not real life. I can't believe it. This is amazing. So we had kind of a meet cute, as it were. And that's kind of my version of our origin story.
Yeah, so my version is, I feel like I've been using BlogStomp before social media, there was nothing social media.
Right.
Like, it was just really for watermarking, and I loved it. And I think, I don't remember that support, but it might have been when I was writing the blog post, or it might have asked something before then, but I did write a blog post called How to Blog 70 Times Faster. And the key of the blog post is how to blog with BlogStomp in order to save you tons of time. And I might have asked you something because I just had learned about your blogging feature and your SEO feature, which a lot of people don't know about, or don't realize it's there or use. So that, but then Chip was very kind enough to, I was teaching in Brazil 2 years ago, and I was looking, for sponsors, and I loved the product. So he was kind enough to donate one for raffle and prizes. So that was really cool. So then when I was at this event, and I'm like, who are those guys? Because they were sitting next to my really good friend Ginny, who I've known for years. We did like my first ever workshop was like 2010. We met, and or 9, gosh, so long ago. And then I was like, they're like, oh, it's the BlogStomp guys. And I was like, oh my God, it's Chip, like this weird, like, meet in
That's so
person
funny.
kind of a thing is awesome. So, and then I feel like we hit it off really well. It was like
I
old buddies,
mean,
like,
I kind of felt this instant bestie thing going
I
on.
know,
I don't know
we're
about you.
like pals, you know, we're like, what's up?
Yeah, no, it was in my mind the most perfect way we could have actually met for real, because it was yeah, surrounded by great people in
Yeah,
a fun event, and
yes.
and we're able
I had
to,
some wine, so that's always good. So,
we had some wine. Absolutely. Well, then, so I've got, you said even things right in there that I'm really wanting to dive into and ask you a million questions. But before we do that, would you kind of just give us kind of the, I don't know, the Reader's Digest version, or kind of the paint with a broad brush? What's SEO? What's it all about? What's the purpose? What's it for? Like,
sure.
give us kind of paint with broad strokes, if you would.
Yeah, awesome. So before I do that, let me just explain. My name is Feuza, but my nickname's Fuse. So all my friends call me Fuse. And I do have, I'm a photographer. I've been a photographer since '09. And I launched another business, which is teaching SEO for creatives and photographers, basically how to get found online. So the blog is Get Found with Fuse, and that's why you'll see everyone really call me Fuse. So SEO, I remember the first time I heard it, and it was like, you know, something you pretend you know, and you shake your head and agree with everyone. You're like, oh yeah, but you know, but I had no clue what it really meant. So it is abbreviation for search engine optimization. But honestly, what that means is that there are things that I can do manually with my blog, with my website, even sometimes social media. So anything that I am online on, I can make tweaks and changes in order for search engines like Google, Yahoo, Bing, even YouTube, in order to find my website and to find my content or my blog posts or even my photos. So it's sort of like giving your website a boost. And I say, you know, imagine that you have to go on a road trip and you're going to check your car if your oil is okay, you know, your tires, maybe your tires need a little boost. So that is what we can do. You can actually do things for your website and your blog in order to help the search engines find you, because they are scanning the internet every single day, looking for new data and looking for new information. Then when they find that data and information, they categorize it. And I call this the big IKEA storage compartment, you know, like the IKEA checkout line where it's like bin and column, you know, like crazy. You need a little pencil, write everything down. Well, Google does that like 100 gazillion times faster. And they have to categorize all this information, because then when somebody comes searching for something, they know where that information is, and they're going to decide, you know, which websites are placed in the first page, second page, third page for whatever, you know, people are searching for. So that's kind of a summary of it. And a lot of people don't realize that themselves, you know, can do a few changes in order to help that process speed along. So.
Gotcha. So yeah, it's yeah, you mentioned SEO being kind of this newer thing that people didn't understand, and I feel like in a lot of ways, I'm still there,
Yeah,
for sure, and I can't be the only one. So let me get to some questions, and if that's all right, things that I've been wondering about, things that might be helpful for the audience. My first question is, why is SEO important? And I think you just did a bang up job answering that one. It's no, so that's perfect. That's perfect. My next question: do I have to SEO every post, every image? Is it like I just need it in some key places on my website? What are your thoughts there?
I think that's a great question. And I look at it as, for me, SEO, there's 3 phases. And it's, so the first phase, we're going to call it your foundational phase and your technical phase. Technical SEO, there's a foundation. So there's certain things on your website that definitely must be implemented if they're not yet. And so with the foundation, then the other things, the second part is kind of like the maintenance. And the maintenance is more keeping up sometimes with plugin updates, or making sure your site is mobile friendly, or checking for broken links on your website. You know, broken links can happen. And also with blogging, I would say blogging is a part of maintenance. The third section, I just call it revisiting. Sometimes you have to revisit your initial foundation or your tactics that you've put into place to see if those are still valid, right? So for the foundation, the first step with SEO, before you do anything, is to develop a list, what we call the keyword list. So the keyword list is basically what are the things that you want to be found for. So, you know, some questions are, what do you do and where do you do it? But so if you're a photographer, what kind of photography do you do? Get a little bit more specific. If you're just a wedding photographer, but you also do engagement, do you do boudoir? Do you do rehearsal? Do you do trash the dress? Do you do destination weddings? So this list is ever growing, in my opinion. And then, like, where do you do it? But where do you do it? Sometimes people get stuck and think like, oh, okay, I just want to be found for, you know, wedding photography in the town that I want to work at, and then all my booking problems are solved, right? I'm going to get all these inquiries. Google's going to send me all this traffic. It doesn't work that way, because the other 1,000 photographers are also thinking the same thing.
For sure. For sure.
So, but the cool thing is that there's different paths to get to our end result, right? So why is SEO important? Honestly, it's important to get new inquiries, because for me, or new bookings, clients. For me, clients come from 3 places. They're going to come from other vendors, past brides, past clients, and they're going to come from online. And, you know, any business nowadays is like, if you don't have an online business or a presence, I mean, you're not a business. So if our goal is honestly to get an inquiry, right, for that person to hit the contact form, it don't matter like if they got there by Googling, you know, LA wedding photographer, okay? It doesn't matter. What matters is that end goal. So with that, there's alternative keywords that I call and that I think are much better to do. This is when your blog focus is more about the wedding venue, and you get your photos found because of the wedding venue and not because of LA wedding photographer. So there's many different paths to get there, but you do need your foundation set. And then for your foundation, you know, those main keywords are going to matter. So answering those questions, what do you do? Where do you do it? And where do you do it is, I always say this, don't ignore your small town. Don't ignore your little town, because Google knows distances and IP address, because maybe the bride lives in the small town too, but she's getting married in the big town. So even though, you know, you're not going to be exact name search. So for example, a lot of people like places like Atlanta and Nashville, where you have all these smaller cities around, people want to just use those main cities in their keyword list. And I say, embrace the little guy, because Google knows by distance, and Google personalizes results based on the person that's searching, right? So let's say, for example, here where I live now, it's a lot of subdivisions. So I would add that to the list. So it's Carolina Forest. There is, I forget the other regions, but you know, depending where you live, like it's by county. When I was in New Jersey, it was South Jersey, North Jersey. Sometimes in certain places it's like East, you know, East, I don't know, Atlanta. So there's like these local geographical regions that you should add to your list too.
Sure.
Then
so if someone's in LA, they might say Beverly Hills wedding photographer,
yes,
East LA, West Hollywood wedding photographer.
like Orange County, right? That's a big one. OC, in Orange
or
County.
even Laguna Beach, Dana Point.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I add all of those. So this is what I call our main keyword ideas. Okay, this is like what you can't escape from it. It's what you do, where you do it, and you want to kind of be found for these things, right? But then the alternative keyword list, which is the second list I recommend you start, is like, okay, what are your top wedding venues if you're a wedding photographer that you like to photograph at? Then what is your style? So like, are you big, you know, are you like the style me pretty photographer and it's all rustic, it's outdoor, it's dreamy, it's airy, maybe you're a fine art photographer. So with certain kinds of photography, it's more like, you have to use the terms of the client. We have to think like the client. So photographers make the mistake of, for example, blogging their engagement session and calling it engagement session. It really should be engagement photos or pictures, because clients
are going to be searching for engagement pictures, not engagement session.
Yeah. So when I do keyword research, for example, for a newborn photographer, one thing that I notice is regular clients, they always put the word baby after newborn. Like for us, it's such a given that it's newborn photographer. For them, it's newborn baby photographer, or photography. And clients use the word photography a lot when they're looking for a photographer, because I have a saying, and I want you to quote me later. My saying is, I want to be found before they know they need me.
Oh, I like that. That's
Okay.
good. Well, so when I set up my business, I named it a wedding photography, so that in the yellow pages, I'd be like the first one that came up. So that's probably good, right? Like for when people are thumbing through the phone book for a wedding photographer.
Well, there's no more phone books, but yeah.
Wait, what? Hold on. You just ruined my whole business plan. Okay.
But sorry, I got sidetracked a little bit.
No.
So I'm thinking about your style and adjectives, and where to usually do your engagement sessions, or if you're a portrait photographer, maybe you're specialized. Maybe you're a newborn photographer, but your specialty is multiples and twins. Maybe you have really great artistic in studio work. So you need to be adding those things too. And then the main section when it comes to SEO is something called page titles and description. So if you're in WordPress, if you go into your general settings and then reader, I believe, or writing, you'll see something called tagline. And a lot of people put their business name there. You shouldn't put your business name there. You should put like your main keyword, like, Houston wedding photographer, Texas wedding engagement photography, or something like that. So there are these places which won't get like too technical, but that's your foundation. That is like, and then can we screen share? Can I show you all something?
Yeah, the little green box with the arrow on the left. You can either pick your whole screen or
one little tip. If you want to, like, if you're like Fuse, I have no idea. Do you see my screen now?
There it is.
Okay. So one tip, if you have no idea if your page titles and descriptions are filled out, and they should be unique for every page on your website. And if you're in WordPress, you can use the Yoast SEO plugin, which is free, and you will actually do it for pages too. So what you do is you go to site, and then you put the little, what are these called?
The colon?
Yes. What are these called? And then, so for example, I don't know, I'm going to use BlogStomp. I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Do
it. I'm going to put you in the spot. Okay. So then you actually type that up and you copy. Then I'm going to, when I do search like this, when I say site with the colon and the site, it's going to give me all the pages on that website. Okay. Cool. Now, all the pages on the website, this here, what shows up here, well, that's the Google one, but this here is what we call our page title. And this down here is what we call our description. So the issue I see here, Chip, and I'm going to give you a tip, is I don't mind that it says BlogStomp and Album Proofer, because I know those are the pages for it. Sure. But you shouldn't have Stomp software here. So I call this prime real estate because you only get about 60 characters. Okay. So instead, Album Proofer, it should be like, or Album Stomp, it should be album design software, or album design for photographers, do-it-yourself album design. So it should be what that page is about, right? So BlogStomp could be like watermarking, resizing or collage templates for blogging, or blogging watermark. So whatever keywords related to that page, because search engines look at individual pages, they look at posts, they look at photos, and not your overall website only. So one page can be ranking really well. And remember, I said it doesn't matter how they get there, as long as they get there, there's different paths.
Sure. So dude, that's fantastic. I didn't know I was going to school today. I like this.
Yeah, so this is what I mean by your technical SEO. So you need to, and then if you use Squarespace, if people listening in use something else, you have to find out. So if you want to write this down, where can I change my page titles and my description? And usually, in Show It, you can do this. There's the SEO section if you have a Show It website for the website portion. And for the WordPress portion, you really want to use the Yoast SEO plugin, because then you could fill it out in the box below where it says site title description. Description, if you don't fill it out, it's just going to pick up the first text it finds on the page.
Gotcha.
So here, there's an opportunity for you too to describe it. So description is always full sentences and it's about 150 characters. And this is where you would put your business name. So let's say like, you know, I don't know, rustic Houston wedding photographer serving Houston, and then, you know, the Woodlands, and I don't know, I'm making these up because I don't know if these are near. And, you know, another town also offering wedding and engagement photography. You know, Feuza Reis Studios is a rustic wedding, you know, photography studio specializing in ABC. Sometimes I'll do a call to action, like contact us today, if I see there's more room. So this is a good checkpoint for you to kind of do a mini audit on yourself to see if your technical SEO is in place. If you see here, guys, if you do this for yourself and you realize it has your business name on all of them, that's your homework. You need to change that and match with the keywords, whatever that page is about. If it's an engagement photo gallery page, it's going to be Houston engagement photography or Houston engagement photo locations. If it's about, you know, FAQ, wedding photography pricing. So you want to maximize keyword, whatever that page is about, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not getting like too like technical on you, but I wanted to show it. Then how did I stop the screen share?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay, cool. So that is your technical. So Fuse, do I have to do that? Your technical you have to do. So you kind of set it and not forget it. You might revisit later. So then the other things about the upkeep, you really want to make SEO part of your workflow and how it works for you. So when I first started, like I half-assed it and I started seeing like results. I'm like, oh, people are fine. All of a sudden people are like contacting me and saying, we're finding you in Google. So one thing that photographers have that is amazing is photos and blogging and photos that we can blog about. So, you know, I think for photographers, if you don't do anything else, I would say do your technical, kind of what we just talked about, and then do your image SEO, which is what I have been posting on the account this week. So I'm gonna plug in my computer, and I know you probably have more questions for me over there in your
No, all good. Yeah, I'll take my time asking this one. Give you a chance to plug your computer in.
It's right here, so we're good.
It's so much longer to plug my computer. No, I'm just kidding. So my next question for you, without going too personal into details about your business, can you tell us some ways that you have seen your business change or transformed because of the implementation of the SEO techniques that you use and that you teach?
Yeah, awesome. I think that's a great question. Well, for me, when I first started, and the reason why I fell in love with it, it was because it led to inquiries and it led to me marketing my business for free. Yes, it took some time. It wasn't like magical, like it was time consuming to do the blogging and to optimize the photos and to add keywords and stuff. But when you start seeing results, it gets exciting. So it's definitely one way for you to be found online. And depending where you live, like, in New Jersey, it was all about that when I was there, because it's just a very fast-paced, busy town, busy couples, and they were doing their research online. And, people are always online. They're online, they're on social media as well, looking for things, especially if they're planning a wedding or a photo shoot. So I knew that my online presence needed to be on point. And at the time, before even SEO, basically it was with the help of social media, actually Twitter, which is funny because I gave that up for a few years. It was kind of like what propelled my wedding business, like just connecting with the vendors. And I've even booked a wedding because of Twitter. It was a slideshow tweet of my work, but still though. And then, for me, and then I moved. So when I moved, I was like, crap, I got to start this over again. You know what I mean? Like I needed it to showcase my new location and for new brides to find me. And then once I started getting a few wedding venues that I, loved, then I started optimizing for that. So then brides getting married at that venue, they found me before they knew they needed me. I was a resource for them. So for me, SEO serves for getting new clients, but what I love about blogging and blogging with SEO in mind is how it's such a great tool to serve my clients. And I think that is our purpose as business owners. We're really in the service industry, right? We're here. It doesn't matter what you do. Even if you sell a product, you're still serving a person, right? We're still selling to people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think blogging, by, you know, giving out information that they need, that they're already looking online for, it's just like it just feels great to be able to do that, to be able to be a resource for someone. And even if they don't book you or not, you're still helping somebody out, and they're going to remember that. And that is going to, you know, you put good out and good comes back.
For
So
sure.
for me, you know, SEO is very strong in trying to get my work found online, because no longer it's you'll blog and they will come. You know, things have really changed in the online stratosphere.
Yeah, yeah, you're definitely right about that, which actually brings up perfectly my next question. I remember the first time I was introduced to or was made aware of SEO. I might get the date wrong, but I think it was around like maybe 2008, 2009.
Okay.
And it kind of ushered in what I maybe want to refer to as the dark ages of SEO. And what I mean is, it's when you would see blog posts like amazing, beautiful, rustic, contemporary, modern wedding by Houston wedding photographer at such and such amazing wedding venue, Vera Wang dress, Christian Louboutin shoot, like 30-word blog post titles that were just like almost like offensive to read. And then that also added like the bigger name photographers that I would follow that had massive followings on their blog. You'd see people comment on their blog, and they would put their name in the comment box as modern Charleston wedding photographer. Like, it's a 30-word name, and all, like, people were just, you know, trying to bite off of other people's traffic and stuff. Yeah, are we done with that?
We are done with that. Some people don't realize that we are done
I
with
think you're
that.
exactly right about that.
Yeah. So I love that you bring this up, because this is a pet peeve of mine. Please don't call your blog post Houston wedding photographer, number one.
For sure.
Because I'll tell you why. Okay, but before I tell you why, what happened was about 3-4 years ago, maybe 3, Google did a huge, one of their, they have all these funny names for their updates. It's penguin, it's panda, it's like all these animals. So the first thing they got rid of, and that kind of cracked down a lot on a lot of guest blogging, spammy stuff too. So they made a few changes, okay? So let's talk about what used to work back then and what used not. So they got smart about the spammy link building crappy stuff. So for example, JCPenney almost got blacklisted by Google. And being blacklisted means like nobody can find your site even if they search for you, like you're gone.
Awesome.
Got blacklisted too. I'm not going to name them, but you know, they had enough money to bring it back quickly.
Awesome.
But so basically, like, for example, they were getting a bunch of links and using this one term. So whatever you hyperlink, so let's say I'm going to link to you, Chip, in BlogStomp, and you know, when I highlight the word BlogStomp and I link back to you, whatever I highlight is something called anchor text. So, you know, JCPenney, I think it was for furniture or even for like sweater, I don't know, some crazy key term that they had like thousands and thousands and thousands of links with that word. So Google made this huge update where like certain things that were working back then don't work anymore, which actually is good because they wanted to get rid of all this crappy spamming stuff. So Google's purpose is to make sure that they serve their own client as well. So they don't want to send crappy stuff to their clients. So they want text written as natural as possible. They want your name, address, and phone number to be correct everywhere you're listed online, right? So that's called the NAP. So this is why sometimes when you're on your phone and you call a number and Google will ask right after, was that number correct? Right? Kind of like in the phone book, if you would print your wrong number, that's pretty, you know, like bad for you. So now it makes Google look bad if this information is not correct and updated. So with that, so something that doesn't work anymore is tags and blog post. Remember the tag cloud?
Yeah.
So tags can actually work against you. So So you shouldn't use more than 4 tags per blog post. And tags is kind of like the only place ever I will tell you to be repetitive with your SEO. So it's like, you know, that's where I would put Houston wedding photographer, Ritz-Carlton wedding, if it was at the Ritz-Carlton, for example. And that's it. So some people I see, it's a newborn shoot and they put their 10 towns that they serve as tags. Then they put that they're a wedding photographer, maternity photographer, all this stuff. Then they'll get that and they'll make variations like newborn photographer, newborn photography, Houston newborn photos. So you need to clean that up. So tags are old school SEO. Okay, so we're not like putting in 100 gazillion tags. We're only sprinkling in a few, and if you decide not to use that at all, you're even probably better. When it comes to your blog post title, this is a place where you have to think about the reader 100%. And it has to be, how can I entice a reader to click? Because usually what you name your blog post, it's what comes up in Google results as the page title if you're not manually updating it in Yoast.
Sure.
So then, you know, what would you click on? New York wedding photographer, Susan and Brian, New York wedding photographer, or would you click on sexy New York rooftop wedding?
What would I click on?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if I should answer what I would click. No, I'd click on the one that sounds more interesting.
But it's boring. If you're just thinking about keywords in that spot, that is the one place where you don't. If you can get a keyword in there,
sure,
awesome. But the cool thing about Yoast too is that before you publish the post, you can change the permalink, and that could be more for Google. But your blog post title has to be about to entice. So adjectives, like make it fun, like make it, and also not a paragraph. Like it cannot be that, and then it can't be Susan and Brian, sexy New York rooftop wedding, Feuza Reis Studios, New York wedding photographer. It can't. It needs to be shorter. Because this is the other thing. So there's something called click-through rate. So let's say if I look up New York rooftop wedding venues, okay? And of that list, let's say my sexy, you know, rooftop wedding blog post is number 7 on the list because a page has 10 results. If Google sees that most of the people are clicking on number 7 instead of 3, 4, 5, that one has a better click-through rate. More people are clicking in that result.
Sure.
That's what Google's gonna do. They're gonna move me up, baby, because people are more interested in my post, right? Because it's click-worthy. When you have these spammy blog post titles, they're not click-worthy. They're not serving your client. They're not serving Google. Google doesn't like that. And the biggest new trend, SEO trend, I can tell you for 2017, well, there's 2. But the number 1 is branding. Like if people land on your site and the branding's not on point and it doesn't look, you know, like you're like, oh, maybe something's off, or it's not user friendly, like the navigation is a little wacky. That affects SEO. That affects your Google rankings.
So wait, so Google is looking at your branding, or Google is interpreting how people behave on your site based on
Google's looking at how users are relating to your site.
Sure.
Branding is a big part of that because of the user friendliness, right? So I see this all the time. So for example, and one thing I didn't say that's really important, sorry, I get excited.
No, go for it.
Is text is the foundation for SEO. Search engines, they don't see photos yet. They're starting to with this whole smart rank brain thing.
Sure.
They don't see videos. So it's all text-based. You know, remember our website is like all coding. So text is going to be really important. So I see these gorgeous, beautiful websites for photographers and creatives, right? Gorgeous, stunning, like promo video. And it's like, amazing. But guess what? In the eyes of Google, you're naked, like your website. I wrote a blog post, you know, called, like put some clothes on. But so like that's not what Google sees. So like if your website is just a bunch of galleries, one page with a few text, like there's nothing there for Google, and Google will actually stop going through your site. Like it'll stop. Or if your page titles are all the same text, Google will be like, oh, it's the same thing, so I leave. Like it won't even index your whole site.
So that's what I'm doing wrong.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay. Naked, so you gotta put some clothes.
Hey, maybe I just prefer to
Baby.
naked. I don't know.
Because it's sexy rooftop wedding.
That's right. That's right. So wait, so I should name my page "Sexy Naked Photographer." Is that what you're saying?
With a
Maybe not.
beard.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
But with that though, sorry, I have a cold, so that's why I have to speak. But with that though, is the user friendliness. Another mistake photographers and creatives make is they think that clients are like us and we're clicking everywhere. Clients don't click. So your info needs to be what's called above the fold. What you see is what you get. So if your really important info is like down, you're missing out. You're missing out. And you could actually use SumoMe heat maps, which is for free, and it will show you the percentage of people on your website that have read past that line. And it's like not a lot. It's like 30% maybe.
Gotcha.
So you need your website to be like crossing the street with a 3-year-old. You have to hold its hand. So it has to be like, click here, go there, calls to action. So what are the top 3 pages you want people to visit? Are you making it easy for people to go from your about to your portfolio to your contact page? So this is what Google's looking at, okay? So so it analyzes your user, how they are on your website navigating. And the reason I say brand is important is because if you have a good brand and it's consistent and a user-friendly site, all those things makes a person more interested in staying in your site longer. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, no. I definitely get that. That kind of that kind of answers one of the questions that I had coming up, and it was basically we talked about some techniques that maybe have moved out of the range that Google
Oh,
looks
and
at.
the commenting too. Like you
Yeah.
could still like the whole leaving a comment. Like Google knows. Like Google knows if you're like going on a comment spree. They're really smart. They're kind of
Gotcha.
like, did you ever watch that movie Limitless?
Yeah, sure did.
You know, at the end when he kind of was like ahead of the game
Uh-huh.
with De Niro. I think it's De Niro. I think.
Yeah, it was De Niro, and it was oh my God.
The Matthew McConaughey? No.
No, it was
The other one, Cooper.
Bradley Cooper. There you go.
So Bradley Cooper was kind of ahead of the game. I don't want to give the finale, but Google's like Bradley Cooper like 100 times that. Okay, like Google knows. Like Google knows if you're going on a blog commenting spree. So if you are a blog reader and you like leaving comments, you could do that. But obviously, you want it to be natural. So that doesn't work that much anymore. I mean, some people still try the tactic of going on forums, trying to get a link back, but like Reddit will kill you. Like people on Reddit will like murder you if you, no, not murder. That's not nice to say. But they'll be mad. That's not a place to do that. They're a tough crowd sometimes.
Figuratively,
people, please. I'm sorry. I'll blame the cold meds for me. But let me see anything else.
Yeah, well, that was kind of where I was getting to. Those things are moving out of vogue, yes. Maybe. Where do you see, I mean, I think you touched on it a minute ago, where do you see things heading? Is it more towards authenticity? It's more towards branding? It's more toward experience?
So, it's more towards like having really great content. But one thing people don't realize, it's actually going to move towards what we call long tail keywords because of voice text. Because the future generation is not typing. My kids don't type. They use their voice to look for something. They use their voice on YouTube to find a video, okay? Sure. So when we're using our voice text, we say more things. So if I'm looking for a restaurant and I suck at typing in the phone, when I'm looking for a restaurant, I'll be like, Restaurant Myrtle Beach. But if I'm speaking, I'll be like, best Italian restaurant in Myrtle Beach.
For sure. For sure.
So the future is going kind of this longer form of questions, and which is cool because you could actually go on Quora and go on a few forum like ask sites and see how people are wording certain things. Yeah. So if you're a wedding photographer or even a wedding planner, you could go and see how people phrase those things. So let's say I want to write a blog post with tips for wedding planning in Houston. So I could go to forum and kind of just see how the brides are typing in their questions and use that question as my blog post title. how to plan your wedding in Houston, or 5 tips to plan your wedding in short time, you know? So whatever the terms they're using. So it's going towards that, and it's definitely going towards more authentic, natural content. So, you know, I tell bloggers this, photographers this all the time. Don't just blog your work. Think about like questions that you get so you're found before they know they need you. Because before anybody books anybody for anything, they like to dream about it, right? So if I'm an expecting mom, I'm already thinking about that newborn photo shoot, but I'm like, oh, I'm gonna find outfits and props, and ooh, am I gonna do a theme? Am I like, I'm dreaming of this thing that I want, this desire, right? And
Sure.
this is why Pinterest is amazing, because people go there and save these for later, right? That's why they changed the name of the button from pin to save, because they realized people were saving things 2 to 4 months ahead of time. Okay.
That kind of made me sad. I liked that it had.
I know. I kind of love the pin button. Like, but now I get it though. Once I saw the statistics that people go there 2 to 4 months before. So let's say, you know, I don't know. Let's say I do summer mini photo shoots or something. I got to start pinning those now. Related content, like moms already now are looking at beyond spring break, because it's 2 to 4 months in advance.
Sure.
So it's kind of interesting in that respect. But like, think of like, okay, so this is what the questions I always ask, like, who's your ideal client, right? Number 1. Number 2 is, what keeps them up at night? So if it's an expecting mom, it's going to be these changes. If she's already a mom, is what the hell do I do with my kids in spring break, right? Which is a great way to blog about my town every month.
Or like, where can I send my kids on spring break so I can get some peace and quiet?
So like, once you start blogging with your client in mind and with what they need help with, which sometimes doesn't have to do with your work. So let's say if, you know, my ideal client are moms, I'm a family photographer, I would blog at least once a month what to do with my kids in my town, because then I'm getting local SEO juice. I'm getting parents that are looking for that information. They're going to find my blog. Then later when they need a photographer, they know who helped them, because people remember you when you help them. So, you know, instead of blogging just, here's another photo shoot, here's my new albums, you know, which is great, which you should, start doing FAQ questions, start doing, you know, tips and planning, because you're going to enjoy those kind of posts more than you do like your own work. You know, you've already like looked at your work for so long, then you have to edit it, and then you're like, oh, I got to look at it again. So sometimes that becomes frustrating. But if you start just really thinking about your serving and being a resource for your client, you're going to come up with so many blog post ideas, I'm telling you, and then you're going to be found because of them. So
that's awesome. Well, I've got one more question from me before we get on to the user submitted questions, and that is, where if I feel like you probably revolutionized people's businesses today in this conversation. I'm definitely gonna go back and listen through. Where can folks find more info? Is it at getfoundwithfuse.com? Are there other links or?
Yeah, so I do have a freebie for folks, because we've been talking about, so I want to make sure folks look at the image SEO tips. I know we're already kind of past our time here, but I did want to show them the image SEO tip with BlogStomp.
Oh, sure.
And we do have a freebie, which is bit.ly /image rename. So this is a free image rename cheat sheet, which you can use to rename your images or use it in your alt text for your image SEO. So make sure you read the 3 tips on the Stomp software account that I shared exactly what you should be doing for blogging and for your image SEO. And then we could hit some questions, and then I could do a little demo of what to do in BlogStomp.
Yeah, that'd be great. In fact, the first question is specific to BlogStomp, and the question is, I like to do little collages instead of single photos on my blog. Is that hurting my SEO?
Okay, I love this question. Okay, collages are great, and they're awesome. So there's 2 things there. The number 1 thing is, please don't get your 20 photos and make just one collage in BlogStomp, because you're going to be missing opportunity, right? Like, you want a few files. So I call them image files. So an image file can be 2 photos, 4 photos, 10 photos, whatever you do, you know, whatever fits your style, that's fine. So it's perfectly okay to collage, but please don't collage all the images from that post into one collage. You want to break that out, 3 or 4 if you can. Then the other end of that, some people have like 60 image files or 40 because it's a wedding and they want to show all this stuff. That's going to be harder to do because if you are manually changing the alt text, that's going to be like really tiring and you're going to like give up. And that could also slow down your website, even though these files are smaller. But the more, you know, if you're adding 100 files per blog post, like crazy, and I've done it, like, don't get me wrong, I have a really hard time narrowing down photos. But, you know, try doing less for weddings or add a slideshow, link to the full gallery if you want, you know, get some people checking out your galleries, especially if your gallery is like a subdomain, then that helps with your own website SEO, and Google Analytics will show you that. So yes, great question. What was her name again? Who asked the question? Is it Andrea?
Oh goodness, I think so. I didn't write it down in this one.
I can look
it. Let's see. How about a couple of these you answered a minute ago? Okay.
I don't know if I answered your question that you had in the group either.
Well, I'll ask one of mine from the group. So, okay. Is SEO like salt, where too much can ruin the dish, or is it like chocolate, where too much is never enough?
Oh my God, you're so good. That's a great question. So it definitely can be like salt, where too much can work against you, right?
Okay.
Because remember, at the end of the day, it's humans that book you. So we're optimizing for these search engines, which are machines, honestly, right? Google's a machine. I mean, even though I call him Mr. Google all the time, and I say, Mr. Google, we want a long-term relationship with Mr. Google. We want Mr. Google to put a ring on it. We don't want to Mr. Google. But it's a machine, right? So if you're thinking just about the machine, it could be like salt, okay? But if you think like your audience, it could be like chocolate, because if your content, your posts are so good, they're going to want more, and Google's going to want more. So it depends where, right? Where we're talking about. If it's like you're thinking just SEO for your blog post title, that's going to hurt you. That's not going to be, people are not going to want to read that, and Google's going to think that's spammy looking.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
A little bit of both.
There was another question that came in through Facebook, specific to Instagram. It says, on Instagram, is there a difference between being tagged in the actual photo versus being tagged in the caption? And we haven't really talked about Instagram a whole lot in this conversation.
I mean, I love,
what do you got there?
So any social media that I can get found by other strangers, I love, and Instagram is one of that because of hashtags and a few other things. I'm not like an Instagram expert per se. So I think for tagging vendors, I think it's better on the photo, but I also don't like posts where like you can't even see the photo because it's like 30 tags.
You accidentally tap it and then all of a sudden.
I know. I mean, so I don't know if one is better versus the other. I think, you know, I usually just tag the photo, and then if I need to mention them in the caption because I'm going to say something about them, then I will do both, honestly.
Reference them directly in the text.
Yeah, usually it's like I'll tag the photo instead. But, you know, it's also important to be using good hashtags, right? That's a whole other conversation right there. But anyway.
It's funny. My very last question was, hashtag are hashtags as effective as people think they are?
Anna Marisol, was the one that asked the question. Anna with 2 N's _ Marisol. Thank you for the stomp question. I thought that was really, really good. And Kydra was the one who asked about that. So, okay, so that's going to depend on the platform. Okay, so for example, Pinterest, no hashtags. They frown upon. They publicly come out and said, we frown upon hashtags. But back in the day, it was like hashtag night and day, you know? So on Pinterest, it's bad. On Instagram, I mean, you hashtag that baby up, right? So I like to do like 6 in the caption or whatever, handful in the caption, and the rest I will do in the comment, because they do work in the comments, right? One thing I've noticed is, and I have a hunch, when I have a hunch, usually there's something there. When I auto post my photos from Instagram to Facebook business page, those photos always gets way more reach, way more than if I did the exact same photo and upload it to Facebook. And I think
Wait, hold on. Can you hatch that back again? So
sure. So let's
you
say
post to Instagram and then you have
so
it automatically published to Facebook.
Facebook business page, right? And then when you post to Instagram, they'll ask you, do you want to also post on your Facebook business page, right? I think you might do automatic. Some people do automatically, right? So when I do that, when I auto post from Instagram to Facebook business page, my reach is way higher than if I took that exact same photo post and manually posted it on Facebook. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. That doesn't necessarily make sense why it works that way, but I'm intrigued. I
think it's the hashtags, because Facebook has changed their algorithm recently. And when you look up words now, like let's do a search on Facebook and see if hashtags come up. So that's why I like using a few hashtags in the actual caption.
Yeah.
But not 30, because that could just look weird if you don't space it out.
At some point, it becomes like that 30-word blog post title.
Yes, yes, exactly. So use it with caution. But I have noticed that, like, so you might want to do a test. See, like, compare the reach of your auto post from Instagram to just a regular post on Facebook to compare. And I've done the exact same thing, but like no hashtags, you know, and I mean, I could be wrong. It could be the fact that they own both and they like that, you know, that you're on both places. But I hashtagged it up in the comments because that's really how you get found on Instagram, and that's how you build community. You find people that you connect with and that you like. So we got a warning message here 7 minutes to go. So if you don't have any more questions, I would love to do the little demo here. And I think we need to come back to talk about how awesome BlogStomp is for blogging.
Cool. Well, yeah, no, that was the last of the questions. So demo away. Let's do it. Okay,
cool. Oh, and one girl had asked about the title of the images, if that's important, and the alt text is more important, but I answered this. Just go to Instagram to oh my God, I'm losing my mind here. Tom Software's Instagram account where I answer this. Okay, so just excuse my crazy screen here. Okay, you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so what a lot of people don't know is that you can actually blog using BlogStomp. So you do have to connect your blog, which I already did, okay, here. So if you've never done it before, you just go to Setup Blog, and it's going to ask you for the URL and, you know, your password, and then you do a test connection. So as you can see here, here is my blogging categories already. And I could technically never have to go to my WordPress blog. Well, not never, but not in the beginning. So let's first grab some images to stomp. Hold on, let me find these real quick. I had downloaded these that I posted. So this is Jeff and Molly wedding pictures, which I had renamed just when I submitted it. Oh, is it too small? No. Oh, maybe one photo was already. So with BlogStomp, one thing you want to do in your settings, okay, in your output settings, BlogStomp by default has it to, is it stomp name or original name now?
I think stomp date is the default.
Stomp date. So we always want to make sure that our settings, that we usually do it by custom or original. So before, I used to export my blog photos kind of like twice. So my blog photos from like, I would rename them already with like this main keyword idea, usually the wedding venue. But if you grab my image rename cheat sheet, which Chip, feel free to also share that in the Facebook group.
Absolutely will. Yeah, thank you.
So that image rename cheat sheet walks you through what you should focus on, venue or style or town plus the word wedding photographer. So I used to do this until recently, actually. Somebody was like, oh, I do it in BlogStomp. And I'm like, oh, duh. Like, what? Why didn't I think of this? So let's say I'm ready for Jeff and Molly's wedding, right? It was at Adelia Castle, a beautiful castle on the beach. It was a vacation home of, this family, etc. So here, let's say I'm going to stomp these images here. So I have my batch here of the photos I want to stomp. All I need to do is, output. For this blog post, I could put my keyword. So my file name, I want it to be Adelia Wedding Photos or Adelia Castle Wedding Photos. And I'm gonna say, okay, I'm only gonna do this for this post. So you're like, are you telling me for every post you're doing this? Yeah, but it's a lot easier than having to export them twice from Lightroom. Does that make sense?
Sure.
This is a shortcut. So, okay. So I'm going to say, yeah, okay. So now every one that I stomp here, everybody's going to have the name, right? So I'll just pick, so let's say I was going to do these two or actually this, right? So I'm going to stomp it, oh, that one was the small file. Okay. So let's say I want that by itself. Here's some design
details. Sure.
Yada, yada. Okay. So
I love your photos, by the way. Sorry, not to fangirl too much, but I'm a big fan.
He's actually a photographer. Jeff is a photographer. Shout out.
Oh, very cool.
So then I'm just going to grab these three just for example. Mix it up. We know. Okay, stomp. Okay, so what a lot of people don't know, now when I go to blog, you put in your title. So this is just like doing a blog post. So, so let's say, gorgeous so here I would write, here you're going to write your text about the wedding day, anything you wanted, vendors, etc. Then I would pick the category, which this is not my photo blog, but you would pick your category. Then here is the beautiful thing about this, okay? If you have the embedded keywords chip, that's from Lightroom if you add more keywords, right?
Right.
Okay. So if you had done that, it would show up here and you can see exactly the back end here. So this is cool because this is really seeing what Google sees. So here, and the embedded keywords here is Adelia and Jeff. So which is beautiful about BlogStomp is that it's batching your image SEO for you, especially if you're in a hurry, okay? So let's say I'm like, I don't have time to manually do each one, then I'll pick a main one and do it. So the three options here, this alt tag here is actually the alt text in our blog post. So here, the alt tag here is use file. It's going to use for here, it's going to use that file name that we picked. See this, Adelia Castle Wedding Photos, that I told BlogStomp to do that. So already did that. It's already renamed. So let's say if I'm like, oh, these are like, I don't know, I changed my mind. I really want to use a custom one. And I want to say, unique. Okay. Or for the alt text, that's the most important for SEO. Then this is where I could do a custom one, or I could do my embedded one or even file name. So this right here is SEO related, and a lot of people don't realize that you guys have this fantastic tool. So then I'm like, okay, I'm going to add this one. See, when I added the second one, look at here. It's adding this keywords for me. So let's say if these I wanted that, and then let's say I change my mind and it's just Myrtle Beach or whatever, and you could pick whatever keyword you want it to appear. And you see that changed. So you could select a few and change it this way. Then we go upload as a draft. And if you see this bar here, this is creating a new draft in your blog post, adding these images, adding the text, choosing the category in what? Almost done, seconds. So it's amazing. I think we're going to need another live webinar. That's all I got to say.
Well, I'm already mapping it out in my head. Yeah, I'd love that.
Because this, this is like such a quick demo. I obviously have way more to talk about than that. Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize that there's this SEO feature in BlogStomp. So if you followed my 3 posts, this is exactly what we're talking about, the title and the alt tag. So BlogStomp will help you to do it easier. Instead of manually doing all those image sections, you could batch it right here with a few files. So let's say all your getting ready files and all your decor files, then you could batch it by sections, and it's gonna save you so much time. Thank you, Grace.
Awesome. 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 So last thing before we go, you had on, thank you so much for doing the Instagram takeover this week. It's been awesome to
You're
see
welcome.
the stuff you shared there. One of the things you hinted at was a discount code that is about to go live in just a few seconds.
Yeah.
So for anybody following along with this webinar, this discount code will only be in effect until midnight tonight Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you don't dally, don't delay. That's why we're not putting it in this webinar, because this will be recorded and it will be here at this link for future reference. The discount code, though, is for the next about 15 hours. So look for, check out instagram.com/stompsoftware.
And how much is the discount code for?
Sorry?
How much is it the discount for?
We did a pretty good sized code. We did 25% off, which is more than we normally do. So that's good on anything in our store.
Totally worth it. And you know, I told Chip that I think a lot of bloggers who are not photographers can benefit so much from a software like this, because there's just a lot of bloggers, mommy bloggers, design bloggers, that they don't use Photoshop and they don't use Lightroom. And they still need to watermark their images. They need social media stuff and some design stuff. And then just the added bonus SEO section is so worth it. So if you don't have BlogStomp, you better get on it. It's a one-time fee. Like, you know, it's awesome.
Feuza, you're my hero. Thank you so much for your help this week. Thanks for all the fun, and thanks for today. And I will definitely be reaching out to you to do a follow-up to this webinar.
Awesome. Yes, let's. I hope it wasn't too much.
No, I'm gonna.
I tend to overdo things.
I'm gonna watch this through at least 8 more times to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, and then guys, you could always, you know, ask me questions. Follow me on the blog. Get Found with Fuse. Yeah, and I think we could do like a follow-up so we could show more the blogging in action and talk a little bit more about the image SEO and the benefits and how we could do this. Because the goal here is, yes, it's time-consuming, but BlogStomp helps you cut down so much time, so then it's not as time consuming and you could get found for your business. So like, who doesn't want that, you know?
Exactly. Well, with that, everybody, we are at our time limit today. So
yes.
Wave bye-bye, Fuse.
Awesome. So I'll be posting that, and give me like 2 minutes and I'm going to post that code. And thank you everyone for being on, and I really appreciate all the questions and for following along.
All right, guys. See you next time.